I'm Katy Smeet, an Adelaide artist, and I also teach workshops at the Artworks Community Studio. In today's video, we'll be covering the basics of acrylic paint pouring. Okay, let's get started. The materials you will need are a selection of acrylic paints, some small disposable cups, an aluminium tray to catch any drips, some gloves, a canvas or artboard, some pouring medium if you're using regular acrylic paints, and some cotton buds to pop any bubbles. Should I use canvas boards or painting panels? Virtually any flat surface that has been properly primed for acrylic painting will be suitable for acrylic pour painting. Some artists prefer to work on traditional stretched canvases, whereas others may prefer canvas boards or painting panels that are easier to store. The choice is really up to you. Each have their own benefits. The acrylic pouring technique allows you to apply colour in puddles, pools and marble-like patterns. Pouring results in a smooth glossy paint film that is perfectly even and blemish-free. It's particularly popular with beginners as it allows you to create quick paintings with dramatic contemporary results. Choosing your colours. Ultimately, the colours you use will be down to personal preference. If you're starting out, try pouring with a few colours first. It can be tempting to throw in all of your favourite paints, but the result may become too busy and muddy. Once you have your materials ready, it's time to get down to the fun bit, pouring the paint onto the canvas. Pouring is an organic painting process that requires little painting but creates dramatic artwork. There are a few different methods you can use to create your paintings. The traditional pour. The traditional pour is the simplest technique for any aspiring artist to do. All it requires is a few steps. Take each colour in turn and gently pour it onto your canvas or board. This technique allows for more control over where your colour goes. You can drop bits of colour here and there wherever you think the composition requires it. Once your paint has been applied, you can pick up the canvas and gently tilt it to encourage the paint to form interesting patterns and puddles. Allowing the paint to run down the sides will give your composition a finished look. This method focuses purely on manipulating the paint alone, without worrying about adding additives or creating cells. Once your pour painting is completed, it's important to leave it to dry for at least 24 hours. If your paint film is particularly thick, you may even need to wait as long as 72 hours. In this time, your pour will move and shift. Your painting may look considerably different from when you left it. Because of this, it's important to leave your work completely undisturbed. Any bumps or movement can cause your carefully crafted patterns to move or even run off the canvas. Ultimately, pouring is an organic and spontaneous painting process. You can do your best to control the results you create, but be prepared for differences between the wet and dry painting. The dirty pour. Unlike the traditional pour, the dirty pour relies on all your colours being held in a single plastic cup. Take one clean cup and gradually add colours into it in successive layers. The way you pour your paints into the cup will determine how they appear when you pour them onto your canvas. Try pouring colours down the inner side of the cup or directly into the centre to see how the positioning affects your pours. The speed at which colour is added will also change the way it pours. If you add colour quickly, it will force it to the bottom of the cup. If you add colour slowly, it will sit at the top of the cup. Use different speeds and positioning to create different types of pours. Gently pour the colours from the cup directly onto your canvas. This can be done in any sort of pattern you wish. Just make sure the canvas is pretty evenly covered. Once all the colour has been added, you can pick up the canvas and carefully tilt it. Tilting encourages the paint to fill every spot and can be used to create interesting patterns. paint is still wet, you can embellish your canvas with holographic flakes and glitter to add an extra bit of sparkle. Advanced techniques using a hairdryer. You will not believe how incredibly easy this mesmerising blow dryer pour painting is to set up and create. You simply cover the canvas with white paint and then pour your colours over the top. Use the blow dryer's air force to splatter the paint around. It's incredibly fun to watch, and you can have an impact on where the paint goes and splatters. Here I'm using the end of my paint tube to spread the paint out, or you can use your fingers or a paintbrush, just evenly spread out the white paint. Use cotton buds to pop any air bubbles that are appearing in your paint. Multi-cup pour. Place some small cups upside down around your canvas. You can now pour either a traditional pour with individual colours or a dirty pour cup of paint directly over the centre of the upside down cups. Try pouring in one steady stream or pouring in a small tight circle. The paint should flow off the cups via little rivulets. Once you're done pouring your paint, leave the cups for a minute or two before removing them to allow the paint to settle. Visualising bubbles in your pours. If you notice bubbles appearing in your poured artwork, there are a couple of techniques you can use to reduce them. If there are only a few, you should be able to just pop them with a toothpick or pin. A fine mist of isopropyl alcohol can also break the surface tension of the top paint layer, causing the bubbles to pop. Some artists also like to use heat guns or small blow torches, like the type you would use in a kitchen, to get rid of bubbles. Finally, remember that the real magic happens when you have finished working on it. Sometimes it's important to step back from your work, come back to it in an hour or so to see how the paints have moved to create an organic pattern. When your art is completely dry, you might like to varnish your work of art to preserve the shine of the paints. Why protect your acrylic paintings? A protective top coat on your paints can keep off dust and other dirt or marks that could build up over time and discolour your painting. It would also protect it from splashes and create a water-resistant finish. Acrylic paints can dry rather matte and dull, and often look a bit disappointing when compared to how shiny they were when wet. By adding a glossy coat on top of the dry painting, you can really make those colours shine bright again. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to acrylic paint pouring. For more information, please check out our Facebook page.